Hi everyone, I'm Denise.
And I'm Georgie.
And we also call ourselves the Happy Vegan Couple.
Guess what, everyone? You know, I've been looking far and wide throughout the city of Tucson to come and do a guest cooking thing with me. Well, I found one, and lo and behold, it was in my own house. So it's none other than Denise.
And let me tell you why I'm going to do the cooking today. Because we're going to show you what we eat almost every day for breakfast. We think, a wonderfully healthy breakfast that starts our day with wonderful nutrients that are both anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and gives us all kinds of all these plant wonderful chemicals, polyphenols, antioxidants, flavonoids, all these kind of things that help us have wonderful health. And I'm the one who brought this particular dish into our household, so that's why I'm going to be the one cooking for you. So oats is going to be the main part of this dish, but I want to just talk about the kind of oats we are going to use. No, Georgie, I want you to stay by because you're going to show some things to the audience. So years ago, I used to eat the rolled oats. And, you know, I'm sure you recognize those, right? You know, those, you can't see it from there. Yeah. So that's what I used to do. But I found out through learning all about nutrition that I'm actually skipping some great nutrition when I eat rolled oats. And the reason is because it's more processed from the whole grain. And every time you do processing, you lose nutrients. You lose some fiber, you lose some protein, and other plant nutrients. So I don't want to use that anymore. It is a little more convenient for some people. It cooks really quick, but we've learned a great way to cook oatmeal with the whole grain of the oats, which offers us the most nutrition, and that is oat groats. Now, they're a little harder to find. Georgie's going to show you what it looks like, and you'll see it actually kind of looks very much like brown rice. It's got a little kernel, and that is considered the whole grain of the oats. And so you get the most nutrition when you actually cook your oats with this. Now, it's a little harder to find this. We buy it at a store called Natural Grocers, which is a chain in the United States. And maybe you have that by you. And they have it for a really good price, and that's where we buy it. You can also find this on Amazon or some other, online sites. Now, if it's really too difficult for you to find this, this is the next best alternative. It's not the rolled oats that I showed you, but it's another one that you're probably very familiar with called steel cut oats. And what steel cut oats are, it's actually this cut in a couple of places. I think maybe they cut it 2 times. And so while there's a little bit less fiber and protein in this than this is still a much better alternative than the rolled oats that I showed you a moment ago. And of course, all of these are going to be way better than instant oats, like that really powdery stuff in the little packets that you might get when you go on vacation and you stay at one of these places that have breakfast. You know, that doesn't have much nutrition for you, again, because there's so much processing. So again, we're going to make this. And the way we do it to make it easy, because if you were going to cook this on the stove, it can take quite a long time for this to get cooked. And, who wants to spend that kind of time, right? And you certainly don't want to do that every day. So what we do is we cook this whole bag at once in our Instant Pot. And then after we have it cooked, then I'm going to show you how I use it every day. So the way we do this is in the Instant Pot, we throw in, I'm not going to make this right now because we actually made it yesterday, and that's what I'm going to be using for cooking today. So we actually throw the whole bag in the Instant Pot, and then we throw in 5 cups of water. Now that water is not going to go get absorbed, and we're going to strain, and Georgie, maybe you can get that strainer. I forgot to take that out. So it won't absorb the water, but it will cook it. So what we do is we throw all that in there, 5 cups of water, and then of course we put the top back on. And then I'm not going to actually do it right now, and then we just find a button that will allow us to set the timer for 7 minutes. That's all it takes. We're going to cook it on high pressure, normal heat for 7 minutes. Now, if you've been already using the Instant Pot, you already know that first it takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes to heat that water up to pressure. And then once it's up to pressure, that's when it starts cooking. That's 7 minutes. So when the 7 minutes is up and the Instant Pot beeps, we actually let that oat sit in the Instant Pot for about another 7 minutes, because we found that it actually plumps up the oat groats a little bit more. I actually enjoy it that way. Some time ago, we didn't do that extra 7 minutes with the natural release. And I found that, you know, I enjoy it more when I do that. So once again, just going over those directions, whole bag in the Instant Pot, 5 cups of water, cook it for 7 minutes. That's what you set the timer for. And then after it beeps, you're going to then let it sit for another 7 minutes. We call that the natural release. And then after that 7 minutes, you can let out the steam, open up the Instant Pot, and get your oats out. And then we would take that over to the sink, and we have this really nice strainer. And so then we pour the contents of the Instant Pot in here. And so the oats will sit in the strainer, and all the water, of course, will go in the sink. And then we'll have a nice amount of oats that we can put into a Tupperware and use for the week. And so let me get it out of the
Let
fridge.
everyone know this is a 1 pound bag.
And that's a 1 pound bag, George.
Yeah.
And then this is what we have. So we've already used a serving of this yesterday to make a couple servings. And this is, you want to just hold that a little closer and maybe kind of show them kind of what it looks like. You can just take this little measuring spoon and just give them a little sense of how that really looks. You know, again, it looks like rice to me, brown rice, right? But it's yummy, it's chewy. And again, this is the form that will give you the most fiber, the most protein. You know, what they say for like a cup of this cooked, you'll get about 6 grams of fiber, 5 to 6. It depends on the brands and what they write, but it's always more than the steel cut and more than the rolled oats. So this is like, you know, where you're going to get the most nutrition. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I actually put my oatmeal bowl together. So when I'm making it, I'm just going to make 1 serving today, just because some of you might only be 1 person in your house, but then you could always double it for more people or triple it, however you would like. So I start out with a 8-ounce measuring cup, and I give myself I love this stuff. And you know, there's actually great fiber in oatmeal called beta-glucan, which is also known for really being good for our immunity and so many wonderful things. So I get a nice, you know, big cup of it. Sometimes I even put in a little bit more. And so now I'm just starting out with my oatmeal in the bowl. And then I'm going to start adding in a lot of other things that are really healthy. So again, I start my day with all these great nutrients, okay? I'm just going to get a couple of these. I had them in my freezer, so I just want to put them back so they don't unfreeze. And the reason we have the rolled oats, we don't make them for oatmeal anymore, but sometimes we use them for other things like some little dessert balls or something like that. Rolled oats could be good for that, or like cookies or something. So pancakes, right? You can make it into flour. Okay, so now what I usually do is I always like a little bit of raisins in here. You know, raisins come from grapes, right? And grapes is a healthy food, nice fiber as well. So I put in like a little handful of raisins. I don't like to do too much of the raisins because, you know, dried fruit is more caloric than fresh fruit. And so, you know, I'm always going to be watching, you know, just kind of how I do things so I can kind of maintain the weight that I have. And then I put in a couple of spices. You know, you can never go wrong with cinnamon, right? Cinnamon is just a wonderful spice, you know, and again, all these things I'm using are anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, you know? So, I mean, you want to load your body up with that, right? And then I use a spice that I learned, it's actually not the bottle, we just use an empty bottle. But this is, this little black spice here is called black cumin seed. And we buy the seed and we grind it like in a coffee grinder like this. And I just throw some of this in here too. I learned this just like a little, you know, a little bit in my hand from Dr. Michael Greger of nutritionfacts.org. That's where I learned this from. And this is, again, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. It's supposed to be good for heart health, help you lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol. I mean, it's just amazing, right? What spices can do. I mean, I know you guys probably know about turmeric and all those wonderful anti-inflammatory properties, but it's in a lot of other spices too. So we want to use them, right? And then I always am going to use flaxseed, right? Because flaxseed is got our omega-3s. Now, if you're not familiar with flaxseed, this is what it looks like. Georgie, you want to show this a little bit? They're, again, these little hard seeds, but you can't eat them that way. You know, if you just ate those little hard seeds, you're just going to poop them out.
Kind of hard to see it in the
Okay.
plastic thing.
All right. So I'm just going to show you, in case you, for some reason, have never done flaxseed before, you know, what you need to do. So get like a coffee grinder, and I'm just going to put some in the coffee grinder and then grind it, and we'll get like a powder. And I actually already have some of this in my fridge, but I wanted to show you how I do it in case you're just not familiar. Then the thing about flaxseed, because one of the reasons we're eating is for these omega-3 fatty acids, besides this other plant compound called lignans, but the omega-3 fatty acids, they can get rancid really easily, apparently, between light and heat. So that's why we keep this in our freezer, which I'm going to just put that right now. So we can keep it as fresh as can be. I don't really need this, Georgie.
No, when you get
Georgie, thank you. You know, he's always a cook and he has all his ideas, but I said, let me do it my way today, Georgie. All right. So we've got the flaxseed in the coffee grinder, and I'm just going to grind it. And I think the sound might go off for a moment. And very fast, it just becomes a powder. And then what we always do with this is we then put it in a small jar. Now let me show you. This is what I already had in my fridge of the ground flaxseed. And the reason we keep this in the fridge is we don't want to grind flaxseed every day for our oatmeal. Just, again, you know, we're lazy. So we do like a small jar in our fridge. You know, in our fridge, of course, when the door is closed, it's dark, it's cold. So we're hoping all those omega-3 fatty acids are going to stay, you know, pure and, you know, not start deteriorating. And then when we finish the jar, then we grind some more and we go through that process again. So that's how we're hoping that, you know, we keep this very fresh. Well, actually, I'll just wait on that for the moment. So I'm going to actually put in, we do 2 tablespoons of flaxseed for each of us, because they are just so amazingly healthy. And so that's what I'm doing. And I kind of do heaping tablespoons because I just know how great it is. You know, if you might know, I'm just going to stick this back in here. If you might know Dr. Brooke Goldner, who helps people reverse autoimmune diseases, this flaxseed or chia seeds, which also has omega-3s, is a big part of her healing protocol. So, you know, that's why I love to use it as well. Okay, so I'm going to get that back in the fridge. And then the final thing that I'm going to have here is I always like to put some banana in. So, you know, I do maybe like 1/3 to 1/2 of a banana. You know, that's pretty ripe. And I just like to chunk it up and put it in here. And let me just wash my hands off from that. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of my soy milk. Now, in our house, we always just drink, for plant milk, we drink unsweetened soy milk. There's different varieties you can buy. The healthiest one, actually, that I would say is not this, is the one that only has 2 ingredients, organic soybeans and water, and it has nothing else in there. And that's important for some people who have some digestive issues with some of the ingredients that are in this, like carrageenan or guar gum. We don't have any issues with that, so we're okay with this soy milk. And Georgie really likes the taste of this one. And also this has calcium in it, and so I always make sure I drink at least a glass of this a day, because I'm going to get about 300 milligrams of calcium, you know, also. So I am going to just use like 1/3 of a cup to make this serving. I don't like my oatmeal real milky. And so I just found that this works for me to like have 1/3 of a cup. I'm just going to put this back. And then I just go ahead and mush it around. Georgie's, you're gonna stay nearby, right? Okay. And I see him walking around and I'm like, I'm probably gonna need him in a minute. So I like to smash my bananas down. I don't know if you really need to, but that's what I like to do. Just get them kind of smashed. And then we're gonna start heating it, and then I'll show you all the other things I'm gonna put in there. Just got a little bit of soy milk that's accumulating in that thing. All right. And then when I start to cook it, I have an electric stove. So I put the burner initially on medium just to kind of get it hot. And then maybe after a minute or two is when I actually start to lower the temperature, because I find that it starts to stick on the bottom of the pot, and I don't want that to happen, you know, very much. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to just go put it on the stove and start that process. And then I told Georgie that he's going to watch it and stir it so I don't have to keep going back there. And, you know, I think it only takes maybe about 10 minutes now to make that, you know, because we've already cooked it in the Instant Pot, you know, so we're just kind of re-warming it with some liquid, hydrating it a little bit more, and then throwing in all our other wonderful things. And so that's what's next. And so what I do next is I put in a diversity of actually frozen fruit. And I've actually found that I like to do the frozen because we can buy these big bags of organic fresh fruit from Costco or maybe one of the other warehouse clubs that you might have with you if you're a member of that. And it's actually very affordable that way, rather than, you know, if we went and bought especially berries, like organic blueberries, organic raspberries, organic strawberries, that price point starts to creep up. And then, you know, you don't know how long they're going to be fresh in your refrigerator and all of that. So I've decided, like, I love doing the frozen fruit. And one of the things I'm after, let me just get it out so I can start doing this. So I have all this frozen fruit that I keep in these bags. And that's what I'm going to be using. And you can do, you know, little or much. I use about maybe even a cup to a cup and a half of fruit to go in my oatmeal. Just because you are getting such amazing nutrients from your fruit, you know, these wonderful polyphenols, antioxidants, it's flavonoids. I mean, there's just all these words that are used for the plant chemicals. And the other thing about it is why I do so much of it is because when we eat a diversity of plants, right, not just the same two things every day, then you're getting more of those different plant compounds, different kinds of fiber, different kind of antioxidants. And that's, you know, what gives us this great health. So that's why I don't want to, like, you know, skimp on this. This is like part of my wonderful, you know, morning routine. I also love getting these frozen cherries from Costco. And that's what I've got here, these little black frozen cherries. Okay, and then in my bowl, I usually measure, you know, we all know how blueberries, well, at least you hope you know, they are incredibly healthy. All the berries are, but I often hear them talk a lot about blueberries for brain health. You know, I'm an older person. I want to keep my mind going as long as I can. And so I really like to not skimp on my berries, especially the blue ones. And I've also learned that if I buy these are smaller organic blueberries called wild blueberries, and they're supposed to have even more nutrients than the regular blueberries that most of us know about. So I try to buy these. I get them at Trader Joe, and now I'm just going to like measure like a half a cup into my bowl, and I'll be using that. And then I like to just throw in a little bit of raspberries too, as well. And I'm just going to throw in a couple. And you know, that's the other thing. When you start eating this, the color, and Georgie, have you want to check that? You might need to lower the heat right now.
I've heard it.
Okay, but check about lowering the heat, please.
Yes.
Just make sure it's not sticking, because I'm usually on top of my oatmeal, you know, stirring and all that. Okay, well, you can still, okay. And just stay there, okay? So
Yes.
you can keep watching it. All right. And let's see, so I've got all these things in here, and then I'm just going to start cutting them up. And yet, once the oatmeal is pretty much cooked, that's when I add my fruit, because I do it at the very end of the process. And I'll tell you, sometimes lately I've been doing, on occasion, a little bit of protein powder, only because I've been hearing from some of our plant-based dietitians like Brenda Davis from Canada, who just wrote this wonderful book called Plant-Powered Protein, that, you know, for older people, again, like me, I'm 71 right now, that, you know, we might need a little bit more protein than the kind of 0.8 per kilogram that's been recommended for, you know, many, many years, decades probably. And that she's suggesting that some of the research is showing that older people could benefit from a little bit more protein. And so, you know, on all my meals, I'm trying to make sure that I just get, you know, something that's a dedicated protein source in all my meals. With, you know, and the best source for that, of course, are your legumes, you know, your beans, your lentils, your green or yellow split peas. So I always want to make sure that I have some of that. And I will be showing you, after I make my oatmeal, some other things that we eat as well with this, or kind of like right after it. You know, if we get too filled up from this, we might need to wait a little while for the next thing. But that's always going to be beans and greens, right? Because we know leafy greens are, again, some of the healthiest foods you could ever eat. And there's so much research that shows now that, like, people who eat leafy greens, you know, at least a serving of it every day, you know, they have lower rates of disease, longer lifespans. You know, that's with all this plant-based. Also, just like whole grains, again, you know, so many people don't sit there and eat whole grains. You know, they'll sit and eat white rice, right? They won't even eat brown rice that has, again, more fiber, more protein, you know, more nutrients, you know, because it's not as processed. But there's even more wonderful grains to use, like hulless barley or farro, quinoa, wheat berries. All of those actually have more fiber and protein than even brown rice. You know, but so many people just kind of get stuck with their rice, maybe because, you know, it's just so convenient. It might be a little bit more affordable because rice is so common. But some of you might know that rice is actually a grain that can uptake arsenic. And sadly, the brown rice takes up more arsenic than the white rice, right? So, you know, those of us who are whole food plant-based eaters, we know we always want to go with the least amount of processing, right, to get the most fiber and most nutrients. And yet brown rice has more arsenic. So, you know, our answer isn't to eat white rice. It is to eat other grains, other whole grains, like what we're doing today, our oat groats. And, you know, and you don't have to just eat oat groats for oatmeal. You can also eat them, you know, with other dishes as well, you know, where you might use rice. But you could also try those other grains that I was just talking about as well. And if you watch our channel, Happy Vegan Couple on YouTube, you know, you'll see dishes where we use hulless barley or farro, you know, and some of the other grains as well. So now I have this like beautiful bowl. Do you want to just kind of show that, Georgie? This beautiful bowl
Mix it up
of oatmeal. I mean, of fruit that I will be putting in my oatmeal. I'm going to go check my oatmeal here.
Yummy.
But it's not ready yet for me to put in because it's still cooking. And let me just kind of show you what it's looking like while it's cooking. So, you know, you can kind of see it's congealing, you know, it's getting cooked, but I don't like it too mushy. So I'm just going to keep cooking it for a little while until I get my, put my fruit in. So while that's cooking, let me share with you the other things we do in the morning just to get, you know, again, more wonderful nutrients in our body. So I'm going to take two things out of my fridge. Get a sip of water here. All right, does anyone recognize this? Can you tell what it is? These are broccoli sprouts that we make here in our house. And we did a video that is on our YouTube channel showing you exactly how to make this. It's so easy. And why would you not do this? Do you know why? Because when you eat broccoli sprouts, you get this amazing chemical called sulforaphane that is very anti-cancer. Thank you, Georgie. And so, you know, you could eat regular broccoli, right? But when you eat this, you get apparently 100 times more of the anti-cancer chemical sulforaphane than when you're just eating the mature broccoli plant. So I do eat plenty of regular broccoli, but every day I make sure in the morning that I eat a nice serving of these broccoli sprouts, because why would I want to pass up, you know, this wonderful sulforaphane that's in this concentrated source, you know, hoping to keep cancer at bay in my body. And sulforaphane, again, is also an anti-inflammatory, right? And so many people have inflammation, chronic inflammation in their bodies, and they would benefit by eating way more foods, you know, with anti-inflammatory chemicals. And so, you know, I have a nice serving here. And one of the things I've learned about broccoli sprouts is that, like all food, to really get the benefit, you want to chew, you know, in your mouth. You don't want to just like one time and then scarf it down, because maybe you haven't chewed it enough to really release the sulforaphane. And so, you know, take the time. That's why I kind of eat it pretty much by itself. So I do that chewing really well. And then the other thing we do every morning is we have some sauerkraut. And the reason for that is because sauerkraut is fermented food, and then that is like wonderful for our gut, for our microbiome, right? To help feed our microbes some fermented food. And so, you know, you can put it on top of your broccoli sprouts or separate, you know. So I'm just going to put a couple tablespoons that we use every morning. And if any of you guys know Dr. Will Bolshewitz, he's very big on social media. He's a plant-based gastroenterologist. I've learned so much from this guy. I just love his work. He has a beautiful book out called Fiber Fueled, which taught me everything about fiber and why it's so incredible for our body. Why that's like one of the main benefits of eating whole food plant-based, is eating all this fiber. And then he had a second book out, the Fiber Fueled Cookbook. And so one of the things Dr. B has told us is that he actually likes combining these two together. That's how he gets broccoli sprouts and sauerkraut in his body. He puts them together. But he told me something the other day in one of his little social media, I think Instagram posts, that the brand of sauerkraut we've been buying, which is an organic sauerkraut from Costco in a plastic jug, he actually said, you know what, you shouldn't be buying it in plastic. Because he said sauerkraut is so acidic that it can help leach the plastic into the food. And you know, we all probably have plastic in our bodies because of so much in our environment, and that gets into, you know, us from the water systems or whatever, or people drinking, you know, water bottles, or putting hot food in plastic. You know, those are things we're not supposed to do. So we're now going to go look for a different brand. He actually mentioned this brand called Boobies that's in a glass jar. It wasn't organic, but it said non-GMO. Cabbage doesn't normally have great amounts of pesticides in them as some of the other produce, and you can learn more about that if you go to the website for the Environmental Working Group, which I think is ewg.org, and they have this Dirty Dozen list and this Clean 15 list that shows you which plants have the most pesticides. Well, cabbage is usually on the Clean 15. So anyways, we're going to stop buying it in plastic based on Dr. B's advice. So this is the other thing we're going to eat in the morning too. How's the oatmeal look, Georgie? Is it getting?
It's your oatmeal.
Okay, let me go look, take a quick look.
You're just saying.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to show you. It looks a little drier to me now. See if you can see that. And I'm going to go ahead and put my fruit in. And, oh, you know, the last thing that I sometimes put in, before I do that, let me just, I'm going to lower the temp a little bit. I also like to throw in some walnuts, because again, that's another omega-3. And where are my walnuts? There you go. That's another omega-3 food. Again, nuts and seeds also have good protein, lots of minerals and vitamins, fiber, but they are caloric, right? So I don't like to do too many of them. You know, I mean, I like to eat my serving of nuts every day, but you know, not too much. I don't want to snack on them because I probably would not be the weight I am if I was just, you know, mindlessly eating nuts or seeds, you know, while watching TV or whatever it is you do, you know. So we use them as, you know, garnishes for food mostly. Okay. I'm gonna cut those up, but I'm gonna go throw my fruit in. And maybe I'm just gonna do it in front of you right here. Let me see if I can put this top pot on this towel. So I'm just gonna throw all this beautiful, colorful fruit in my oatmeal bowl, in my pot. And then I'm just gonna let that frozen fruit, and again, you could use fresh. There's no reason you need to use frozen, but like I said, I found it very convenient to do frozen. It's more affordable. I feel like, you know, I know the fruit's going to be fresh. It's not going to start having been, you know, where the nutrients are down because, you know, it's now 2 weeks from harvest. By the time it gets to the grocery store, it gets to my house, by the time I cook it. So look at that. You know, can you see how beautiful that's already looking with all that fruit in there? Now that's just going to go heat up. And then I'm just going to cut up, you know, you don't have to cut up your walnuts, but for some reason I like to. And then I'm going to throw them in the pot as well. Let them just get, so they're not, because they're in my freezer right now, right? So I don't want them to be real cold. So I'm just going to get those, put those in the pot as well. Oh, and Georgie, could you get me a can of cannellini beans, please? And we're going to open that up.
Open the beans?
Cannellini beans.
You don't want to open them though, do you?
Actually, yeah. Yeah, I probably don't need to open, but I'm going to tell you what I do. So the other thing we like to do in the morning, besides eating this beautiful bowl of oatmeal with the fruit and the flaxseed, all those great nutrients, and our sauerkraut and broccoli sprouts, fermentation for the sauerkraut. Again, of course, more fiber and nutrients in the sauerkraut and the broccoli sprouts for the sulforaphane. Is we also want to get in again some more, you know, really dedicated plant protein, and beans is a great way. So we also make beans in our Instant Pot a lot, and just today I finished the last bunch that we made, which were pinto beans. So we didn't have any more in our fridge, but we do the same thing like with the oat groats. We make a couple cups of beans in our Instant Pot, and then we put them in the fridge, you know, in a container, and then every day we take it out when we're making our breakfast or, you know, something for lunch. I put beans on salads, all kinds of things, you know, just to make sure we keep eating that wonderful plant protein. So today, actually, cannellini beans is one of my most favorite beans, but we don't make this in the Instant Pot. We couldn't find an affordable source of dry cannellini beans, and we found the can is, you know, better for us. And so, you know, what I typically do, I'll open it up and then I'll rinse the beans to get the salt off, because most of these beans come with a little salt. This has about 110 milligrams for a half a cup, you know, and I don't really need to get salt that way. So I rinse it off and then I use them. And then basically what I do is I'll take either a half a cup or a cup of beans. And let me just tell you how much protein is in a cup of this. So a half a cup is 6. So of course, if you ate a cup, you get 12 grams of protein, and the fiber, you would get 10 grams of fiber if you're eating a cup of beans, right? So, I mean, again, it's a great nutrients for us. So I would put the beans in my bowl, and then I'm going to add 2 other ingredients. Well, actually more than 2. And are we out of the kale? Or did we? Oh,
We
did you
used all the
finish the kale? Oh,
And we use all the arugula, all the red colors.
all right. I usually have 3 types of greens in my refrigerator that I'll put with my beans, but we finished them. Yesterday I finished my arugula, and today we finished the kale in something else. So what I have left are some collard greens. And you know, the collard greens, you know, I buy these fresh big leaves. I bring them home, I wash them, I dry them, I cut them, and then I just put them in a Tupperware like this put them in the fridge, and then I take it out for my meals throughout the week until I finish the Tupperware. So normally I'd have the beans in here, and then I would throw in some greens, And again, it's the same idea with the fruit. I like the diversity of greens, right? So that's why I try to use a little collards, a little kale, maybe a little arugula, I like to do it that way. And then to flavor it up just a little bit, and also to give the greens a little bit of fat so my body will absorb the nutrients better because it likes a little bit of fat. I use a little bit of my cashew cheese spread, which is delicious, made out of raw cashews. Now, I'm just going to go check my fruit because Georgie walked away.
It's done.
All right, I can see it's looking very nice. Let me kind of show you what it looks like in the pot. And in a few moments, I'll put it in my bowl. So see, that didn't take all that long. And then, so just to show you again, this cashew cheese spread is made out of raw cashews, a little lemon juice, a little apple cider vinegar, a little bit of miso, which is another fermented food, and some water. And once we make it in our Vitamix blender, we put it in a big container, and then we put it in our fridge. It gets a little thick. And so again, for my second kind of half of my breakfast, after I'm done with my oatmeal, I will put in the beans, the greens, just like a little bit of cashew cheese to spread it, just like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. You don't need a lot. It goes a long way depending on how many beans and greens you put in here. And this is just makes anything taste delicious. And guess what? We also have a video of how to make this on our YouTube channel. Very, very simple. You can make this in like 5 minutes. And this is just yummy. I even use this for salad dressing. I just take some of it out, put it in a mug with a little water, stir it up, and then I have this creamy salad dressing, that's yummy. In fact, we even have some in the fridge. I can kind of show you. We had made some earlier today. And so, Georgie, maybe you just want to kind of show them what it looks like in terms of the salad dressing when I do it like that.
Kind of thick, like a ranch dressing or something.
So I'm going to now put my oatmeal in my bowl. I can't wait to eat this. It's just, I really look forward to this. It's like I'm in a rush, and I really don't have time to sit and eat and enjoy this. I'll save it for a later meal in the day. Like some days we actually go volunteer at a thrift store around our house, about 20 minutes away. And if I don't have time to make my oatmeal and sit down really and enjoy it well, can you give me a spoon, please? Like I said, I'll make it when I come home from the thrift store. And I work as a cashier there, and Georgie, he actually prices merchandise. Anyways, and so then I have this wonderful bowl that I want to just sit and savor and enjoy. So you can see that by what we eat, we're packing our day with nutrients. We're starting our day with this, to give us all that great health. So just to remind you again of what I've done today, I've made this wonderful oatmeal bowl with oat groats that I first cooked in the Instant Pot, and then keep in my refrigerator for the rest of the week until we finish it. And then I add in all these wonderful add-ins, the raisins, the spices, the omega-3s in the form of flaxseed and walnuts, a little bit of banana, diversity of fruit. And then I have my sauerkraut and my broccoli sprouts as well to get my fermentation and my sulforaphane. And then after I'm, get a little hungry again, that's when I will eat my beans and greens with a little bit of cashew cheese to flavor it. And that's kind of how we start our day. And so I hope that, I've encouraged you to maybe think about, upping your nutrient profile of your breakfast every day, or, again, eat this for lunch or eat this for dinner. It really doesn't matter which part of the day you eat it in, just eat it, because then you'll get all those wonderful nutrients and you can significantly lower your risk for chronic disease, right? That's the goal, right? We don't want to be sick. We don't want to suffer, right, Georgie?
Right.
Right. We want to, just try to limit that. All right, everybody. So I just want to remind you, if by chance this is the first time you've seen the Happy Vegan Couple, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that little notification bell. They'll let you know when we've created a new video. We're not people who do this all the time, like, every day or every week, but we do on a, somewhat regular basis, get videos out there when we have something new we want to share with you that we think will, help you improve your health and reduce disease. And that's our goal.
Denise, I just want to say thank you for coming and showing everybody how to make your oatmeal and all of the stuff that we eat. Come back again and make us some more food.
All right, I get to cook again. Yay! All right, everybody. Until we see you again, I'm Denise.
I'm Georgie.
And we're also known as the Happy
Vegan
Vegan Couple. Eat healthy, optimize your health. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.